Hey folks, my name's René Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Bootser. Black Hand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name's René Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored. So let's recap. The first video we brought you on Perico was his initial debrief. This is the initial bio. He's talking about his life, his gang life, and we actually left off where he was taking his girlfriend or wife at that time, the mother of his kid, Diane, home, and he saw Gibby. Yes, Gibby the Weasel from all the visits. I mean, from all the hotel room videos. That's Gibby the Weasel. They grew up together, so he's talking about him. In fact, Perico becomes a sponsor at a later date. And he's heading back towards them, towards Gibby and Richard, I believe it was, and to go pick them up. So, for those of you who are not familiar with what happened here, we showed an initial clip, the first part of this debrief, where Perico, Mexican Mafia member Ralph Rocha, was arrested for extortion of a woman whose brother stole his car. Within that car was 100 pounds of his marijuana. So he extorts the woman who owns a legitimate business, hits her for $30K, she pays, then he goes back for a second bite. She gets scared. She contacts Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and they wire her up. And he goes back there and he extorts her and they arrest him. And this is him immediately after the arrest. He knows he's done. He's facing a life sentence. He's never going to get out of prison again. And Perico Rocha flips here. And this process is called a debriefing process, right? Where he talks about his bio, is all the facts about his life. And this is what a debrief entails. And in that, we heard a bunch of stuff. And then I switched over to another video where he's debriefing about a murder. Different time period, same general time. But I jumped ahead just to give you something juicy. We're going back to the initial debrief where I left off. He was picking up his homeboys. He just dropped off his old lady. Let's get into that. Before we go, though, I'd like to encourage everybody to hype the video. I'm sorry we brought you the cliffhangers, but cliffhangers are necessary. And there'll be another one after this. They're always, I'm giving you long-form content. Some of these videos are hours long. And I have to break them up into segments, so I'm sure you understand. But we're trying to bring you the long form content. Hype this video, as always. Leave a comment, and without further ado, I'm going to start this video now, right where we left off.
Give him a ride to his house in the circle. They live in like the other part, and we go to this pad. There's just a couple people there, a couple homies, a couple homegirls. We're drinking and partying, and beers out, I think I took Diane home maybe 9 o'clock. It's probably like 2:30 by now. I was just supposed to take her home and back. Homeboys are like, let's go do a beer run. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. So we take off in the car. Actually, we go pick up my homeboy Flaco to go with us. He's an older homie. He gets scared, jumps out the car. He's like, what are you guys gonna do? We're like, we're gonna go do a beer run. It's me, Gibby, and Richard in the car. And he gets all scared, jumps out, whatever. So we take off. We go down to the one right there on by Wong's Market off Pioneer Boulevard. We pull up. It so happened the store's closed. So we're like, fuck it. We just break the window and go in through the little thing. So we're going in and out, park the car down the street, loading the car up with stuff. And the cops come, So everybody runs. I think they both, they do both get arrested. I get away somehow. I run, they chase me, we run. I don't know how. I was just running. It's nighttime, I'm running. I didn't have no shoes. So I was just going to drop Diane off. So I'm in shorts, a slingshot, and I had slippers on. But when we were doing this burglary, I left my shoes so I could run quick because I had slippers. So when I'm running now from the car, I got no shoes. So I'm hitting fences. I'm just going. And somehow or the other, I end up in Diane's mom's backyard. I see her changing the baby. It's probably like 3 in the morning. I see her changing the baby. And I just go rip the screen off, and she's like, "What the hell?" I guess I'm all bloody from running through the bushes and everything. She's getting, I get in, lay down, whatever. The day that goes by, they don't find me. You know, they got dogs, everything. I got away. Anyways, I end up finding out, you know, because Mija's car, they've had our fingerprints. Mija told them that, you know, because they're like, that was your car. I didn't get to tell her to report it stolen. None of that. You know what I mean? I wasn't up on any of that. I was on like 15, whatever, 16. So then now they're looking for me. I go around the barrio looking around. Gibby and Richard are busted. So that's that. So I know they're looking for me. So I'm kind of on the run.
Obviously, somebody told on him. Probably the girl Mija. I'm not throwing a jacket on her at all. But somebody obviously told on him. It was probably too quick to run fingerprints. And for a beer run, they're not going to do fingerprints and DNA. They're not going to do all that, and it's not going to come back that quick. So somebody obviously told on him. Can you imagine him also running around barefooted, just hitting fences and running and coming home all bloody like that? I mean, if you're from the hood and you've dodged the cops, you've been down that alley before. I have, I certainly have, but not without shoes. I kept my shoes on, man.
So I'm just kind of running amok, you know, slinging dope to make a little bit of money, getting stood to Gloria for a little while, got tired of that, started slinging again, running the barrio, just staying at homeboys' houses here and there. Well, not homeboys, my cousins, you know, my aunt's houses, you know, some of my primas, some of my, you know, there was a time in Norwalk where we lived on a street. Almost every house was, a family member lived in it. We used to have parties.
In case you're wondering, that drumming sound is his fingers on the table. I think when he's in conversation and he's in between the stories, or he gets a little nervous because it's apprehensive. You get apprehensive when you're debriefing, right? You don't know what to say, you don't know what you're covered on, and obviously he had not yet received Queen for a Day status. The United States Attorney's not there, or the District Attorney's not there granting him immunity. So he's just telling a story, and he's being very, very judicious about what he says, right? This is the initial part of it, and you can hear him drumming his fingers on the desk.
Every weekend, block parties almost. Would kill a pig, a goat. It was like, I could remember that. I remember every weekend was a party. Every fucking weekend for a long time, you know. And good parties. You know, they last, like, start Friday night, because when we'd kill the goat or the pig, well, Friday afternoon, and that shit would go to Monday, you know, nonstop. And we'd just be in and out. We'd order the outhouses, though. But it was like, it wasn't really, it was like just a family get-together. But homeboys and homegirls would end up coming, and we'd have a DJ and all that. But that was just the norm, you know. Party every weekend, kill something, a goat, a pig, something to eat, cook it in the ground, just party. So anyways, yeah, that went on. I remember that. You know, so you go in and out, you know what I mean? But a lot of times, you know, my tias would be there, my grandma, so it was like, I didn't really see it as a party per se. It was like a family get-together, just like family gets together. Just we'd stay there longer because my grandma lived right here, we lived right here, my tia Marty lived right here, my homeboy lived right here, my other tia, so we all lived right next door to each other, you know. And then across the street, my other cousins lived down, and you keep going all the way down the block. Everybody lived, you know. Everybody was on that block. Cheshire.
I had mentioned in the previous video that I had been to Cheshire. I used to go score dope from Annie there, right in Cheshire, and it's a death trap. This isn't the one way; it's a Norwalk. Another note: I mentioned in the first video that this two-tone pattern here is Walnut Sheriff Station, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in Walnut, California. I've debriefed in this room. I recognize it immediately. I even recognize that little ding on the wall. It's like a perforation where somebody was moving something. This is foam padding, right? It's a soundproof room. I have engaged in multiple interviews in this room. In fact, I lived right down this little corridor in the back cell where the women are housed. That's where they housed me. And I used to have my visits in this room. So everything used to occur in this room. For me, it's very familiar. And it's where they typically take people who are in the custody of the sheriff's department and are and their in initial cooperation. They take them there because it's comfortable, it's out of the way, it's not a high traffic or high volume processing center for the sheriff's department, and they have easy access to the inmate they're debriefing.
That was the main street for whatever you wanted. You know, outside of buying a missile or something nuclear, you go down there and buy it. You know, yeah, it was for sale. But so, anyways, all that stuff happened, and I'm 16, running around, running amok. I get picked up for that burglary. Yeah, I get picked up for that burglary, and I don't know if that was a burglary that sent me to Y. I went to camp. I went to Mendenhall camp. Wasn't really, not just did time, you know. Wasn't nothing spectacular. Did my little bit of time. Nothing really happened there. No fights. No nothing. I'd always somehow or the other run into somebody or some buddies, you know, that I knew, or I knew somebody who knew them, you know, or they knew me, you know. Oh, you're Perico. I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, a lot of people didn't know, really, if I was Gloria's son or who I was, but as time went on, I started getting older, and then people started knowing that I wasn't her son, you know, because I used to be with her a lot. And so going around, once you threw her name out, if you didn't know who she was, you were considered really nobody. You know, you weren't in the game of anything, because, you know, she did a lot. You know, I did a lot with her. Like I said, we used to go to all the prisons. She's going to into the trailer visits. That's when we started the trailer visits. I don't know if they still have them. And visit, take drugs, party, you know. I find out later that she used to do it just, like I said, to keep her son alive, Lefty. Because, I did something wrong in there. Anyways, so I go to...
Lefty from Norwalk, he was with me in Soledad. I mentioned him, and I said, if you know, you know. And a couple of people popped out in the comments. They know. But, I mean, we don't typically cover that kind of content here, so if you know, you know. Lefty had issues, right? And Lefty paid his way through prison, and his mother would bring in dope, and I told you at one point that I was a recipient of some of that dope, but excuse me, I wasn't taxing him or anything like that. He was just kicking me down, and as he would everybody, he would spread to everybody to ensure his safety. Everybody knew Lefty's mom was a connection, right? And if you're cool with Lefty, you're gonna get some dope. And sure enough, I did receive, and I was just like, you know, hey, how you doing? That's it. I didn't hang with the guy, didn't run with the guy, none of that stuff. But that's who he's talking about right now. You know, one comment said, one of the commenters said that Gloria Haas had passed away, and that Lefty is now living in a homeless encampment in San Bernardino. And if so, that's unfortunate. You know, it's unfortunate for the mother passing and for him as well. But you know, he was a mama's boy and dependent on his mom for all his financial support, everything he ever had. That's how it shaped up. And unfortunately, after she passed, he had no hustle. And if that's the truth, and I don't know that to be the truth, then, you know, it stands to reason he would be homeless after his mother died.
Mendenhall, you know. Yeah, I went for the car. I went for a GTA when we were smaller, about that age. We were walking around, and one of my cousins learned how to hotwire VWs. So we were everybody's gonna go steal VWs, and we are gonna play demolition derby in the school, in the grass, like real late, like 2, 3 in the night. So
is that crazy or what? Because we did something similar. We stole a car, myself and Johnny Mancias, and one of my first times I went to jail. Johnny Mancias was my crime. He was my buddy. You know, we grew up together, and we stole this car. We actually broke into his neighbor's house, and we stole the car, and we went driving at Cerritos High School. I think it's on Bloomfield and 183rd, right? And we took the car and raced it through the field, just tearing up the whole athletic field. doing donuts and just crazy stuff, right? So this is like youthful rambunctiousness, you know. So I can completely identify with what he's saying about stealing bugs. They're going to play demolition derby, right? Because we kind of did the same thing with a car we stole from his neighbor's house.
Walking, we had, we had our little teams already. You know what I mean? Like me and us three, we're gonna go get a VW. Well, he showed us how to do it, so it was real easy to do. So everybody's gonna go steal VWs, meet back at the school, and then, do that demolition derby stuff. On our way walking there, we seen some guy. He came outside, started his car, and he took off inside. He left his car on outside. It was a green car. It had rims on it. So I remember my brother, I don't remember exactly, he's like, I'm going to take this car. He went and got the car, pulled it out and left, and came down the street. And he's like, he just pulled up. And everybody just not everybody, just people, he's my brother, so I jump in. Frankie jumps in, Boy jumps in, all my cousins that are there, we all jump in. And we take off. We don't know what the hell we're doing. And we're like, what are we going to do? Let's go try and sell the rims. So fuck it. I'm the youngest one of this crowd. You got my brother's older, Boy's older, Frankie. All these kids are older than me. So I'm kind of just like, let's go in, let's whatever. So we go to La Mirada, and we go pop the rim. Well, we find, my homeboy lives in La Mirada. Some guy we used to know, Toño. And we go see him first, ask him if he wants to buy the rims. He's like, yeah. So we're like, all right. So we go to the park, pop the rims off, and we're going to take them to him. Some kids are walking by when we're doing this. This is way before they even built that park in La Mirada. I remember it was just all dirt. And my cousin, for some reason or other, I was over here on the hill, keeping point on the hill on where these kids came from, because they're by the car. And my cousin Boy gets into it with them. Because they're like walking by looking, what are you doing? They got into it. I think he threw a J-bar at him or something. And they took off. I guess they're the ones who went and called the cops. Because the cops pull up. We all take off running. And we kind of get away. We go jump in backyards. Everybody ends out different spots. I don't know. But I remember, I think it's me, my brother, and I think it's Frankie. Or me, my brother, and Boy. We're laying in we stay in this backyard all night. The sun came up and everything, so we're like, cool, it's probably cool to leave. So I jump out the bush, walk out, and I tell him, count till, I remember I told him, count 25 before you guys come out. That way we have a separation between us, And I don't know why I remember that. I jumped out, I took off walking first. I think I fit the area more. I had a brown jacket on, like a corduroy jacket with white fur.
He lived an adventurous childhood. You got to admit, he had adventure almost every day. But that was kind of like all of our lives, we're in the hood and we're out running the muck, like he says, right? And you got to admit, he's a likable guy. He's a likable guy. And, he's very personable. He's easy to like. You don't see the jerk that everybody says he was, or the a-hole that everybody says he was. You don't see that in here, right? There's no airs. He's just being the regular Ralph that he is, right? He's telling a story about his childhood. And I don't see that arrogance, right? Not like when I watch my videos and I see arrogant jerk, I just see a guy that, had a traumatic childhood and he was living his best life, what he thought it was his best life. That's what I see, right? Obviously, he's going to steer towards a different path in his adulthood. But right here, you just see a guy talking about his childhood, kind of the same childhood we all lived. A lot of us lived that way, So I'm not throwing stones at him at all.
I guess you see him on TV, they wear in Levi's and tennies, so I kind of fit the profile around. I wasn't really dressed all cholo, like they were. I remember my cousin had a Charlie Brown shirt on. Another one had a Pendleton on. So, I figured that's, was my, I guess, thinking of it. So we walked through there. I took off walking. And sure enough, the cop passed me by, because after we started walking down the street, walking over here, and they had told me, I didn't know what kind of where we were. We kind of got an idea where we were, because we were jumping the fences, and so I think we're right here. So all right, go up, make a left, and walk all the way up. And Antonio lives up there. I'm like, all right. So I was walking, and then I look back and I see my cousin turn the corner. I'm like, shit, you know what I mean? He was kind of close. He wasn't that far. But I see the cop coming too, and I'm like, fuck it, here, you know. Whatever, I don't remember what I thought or anything, but here comes a car. But he passes me and pulls over my cousin. So I'm like, cool, I cross the street and keep going. So I get up there to they pull, another cop comes out of nowhere, gets me. The other guy's in the back seat. They identify us, and that's it. We get arrested. I don't know if that was the one I went to YA for. Was it that one or the burglary? I think that was the Mendenhall that I went to Mendenhall for. And I got out, then we did the burglary. Anyways, now I'm in YA. I go to court. Nothing really happens, you know. I wasn't a real big gangbanger.
So you get the template here. He's talking about his juvenile history and all the crimes he committed for his gang when he went to jail, the whole 9 yards. That's how a debrief works.
You know, you know, like I said, we were always deep, or I always knew somebody, you know, or somebody always knew me, or even I remember the guy who worked there knew my dad and my uncles, you know. So when we'd go through there, because my mom went to court, she's seen them, and then they talk, you know, and that's how that happened. So somebody, you know, even the staff kind of knew my family, you know. So it was, I had it easy. I'd get there, I'd get whatever, them dorm runner jobs, and so, you know, it was easy. So I went to YA. What'd I do? Went to SRCC. It just, somehow or the other, I guess just from me knowing people, and people knowing me, and just growing up, knowing older people. I used to know a bunch of older guys, because around that time, I used to hang out with the older guys, you know. About that time, before I got busted and went to YA, I started using. Actually, it was me, Gibby, and homeboy Pecas.
The Gibby he just mentioned, that's Gibby the Weasel. Gibby the Weasel made his appearance for the second time in this video. Yeah, that's the guy in the hotel that wouldn't stop talking, wouldn't stop eating the chips. You know, come in dressed like a bum cholo. That's Gibby the Weasel. That's his homeboy. In fact, this guy sponsors Gibby at a later date.
Actually, we did coke first. We had made a pact. We're like, okay, if we're going to fucking do this, we're not going to do heroin, let's do coke. So I remember we slammed coke, and that was it. We never really did it again. You know, we did it that one time. Parted our ways. So anyways, I went to YA. Went, you know, I ended up going to camp. Went to the fire camp. I don't know, you know, I guess I just always had that leadership quality, I guess, or something, because I've always, you know, even that, I got there and right away, you know, the crew chief called me over and asked me if I wanted to run the crew, you know. I ran the crew. I even used to drive the truck. You know, we'd go to fires and stuff. I'd drop them off. You know, while I'd drive the truck, we'd drive it over here to park when we were in the backwoods and stuff. When they'd be hiking or doing their stuff, I would be the one that would drive the truck. It'd be like, we're going to cut through this brush and go up here, meet us up on the ridge or whatever. I'd drive the truck, you know, so I did that. And I ran the crew, you know what I mean? If there was always something wrong, he'd tell me. And even going back to the regular county camp, I remember I was in charge of my crew there. I was a crew leader there. I went to the nursery. I was a nursery leader there. And I went to the kitchen. I was a head cook there. You know, I always had like, I was always somehow or the other growing up with being the one to make the decisions, you know, or being the one that the burden of results was put off on me. You know, you do it. You figure it out. And so it kind of came natural. You know, looking back at my life now, you know, it was always just like, that's, you know, everybody, you know, I don't know how they did it or how they came to them conclusions or determinations, but that was me. You know, I always got the lead position and everything. So we're in fire camp, and everything's going good there. My crew's doing real good. My crew's number one. You know, one thing that was, my crew's always used to be number one. Remember the Indians from camp, even in placement. I was a crew. I was a dorm leader. You know, we'd have the cleanest dorm. We'd always get the best points. We'd get the field trips because, you know, everything was done decent. All the rules were followed.
I remember those field trips and placement. Every once in a while, I was in Boys Republic. The first time I went to placement, right? As a kid, I got arrested for a burglary, and I remember those specific field trips. They take us out to a market, or take us to a movie, or they take us somewhere to eat at a restaurant. And I remember this. I remember these little positions too, like the runner and all the positions he's talking about. Anybody who's been to YA, or I've never been to YA, but been to camp or placement or juvenile hall, they know exactly what he's talking about. So I get it. I mean, he had leadership qualities. You have to admit that. You know, he's not that articulate, and he doesn't tell a linear story from point A to point B. He's all over. But he had leadership qualities, and that emerged when he was a Mexican Mafia member. You know, he had good leadership qualities. He ran a good crew. He was an earner. Perico was a real earner. You know, like serious money, not nickel dime stuff, like $200 here, $500 there. They're taking 50,000 at a whop. You know, and him and Cisco really did it. You know, him and Cisco really did it right when they got out there.
You know, all that. So, being in camp and that wasn't much going on. I was. About that time, I had my daughter, my first daughter, her mom. I remember doing time. I never missed a visit. That's one thing. I was with her for like, whatever, 15, 17 years. The whole time that I was being with her and I had daytime, I never missed a visit. She was there every weekend. If I could have it, she was there. Even when she had the baby, she was up there the next week. And I told her, don't. Anyways, that was about the time I had my baby, my first daughter, Karina. Because I had met Diane at that party. We hooked up. I got busted. And yeah, that was when I went to YA. Excuse me. So,
about what year was that?
Man, I can't even remember. 84, I'm trying to guess, you know.
Well, you were 15 in 84.
Then no. Had to be... I was 15 in 82, wasn't I?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, you were born in 67. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, no, whatever. Like I said, timelines and that and the exact times, you know, I can't really, I started to, but it started getting too confusing to put it all together because I have to start, you know, like making it, getting real fine, going down, and then as far as timelines, I try to more or less think along the lines of winter, spring, fall instead of the actual year, or more or less, you know. So, anyways, I'm sure it's all on paper. If I had paper and I could figure it out, you know. Okay, this when you went. Oh, all right, I got it. Might have been 84, 85. My daughter's was born in February, so she's I think gonna be 23, gonna be 24. So whatever that is. 10, 20, I don't, you know, like I said, I couldn't get, it's around there. Anyways, when I went, I think I was 19 by then. So 15, because I met Diane, 16, 17. I was just running amok, you know.
So
went to county camp, yeah, just doing nothing, you know. I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't really into crime, into stealing. There wasn't a lot of, the little bit of crime that actually I did do, I got caught for it right away. That's why I went to YA camp. I never was really into gang banging, to shooting dudes. I wasn't into that, you know.
Were you part of that Norwalk gang at this time yet, or no?
I always was. As soon as I was running with my cousins, we all claimed it.
So you're in that gang.
Yeah.
That is ATF agent John Ciccone speaking in the background now. And you notice he's got a bad habit of hitting the table where the recording device is at. That's the audio you're hearing. He's tapping his hands on the table for emphasis.
Automatic, like just that's where I grew up. That's where all my family was. So that's where you were from, you know. When we'd have our little family reunions, we'd have our little issues because I had family from Artesia, Cataranas. When we'd meet in the bathroom, my other cousins, we'd fight. But I'd back up my cousins, you know, that all of us that grew up in Norwalk against my cousins that grew up in Cantaranas or Artesia or wherever. So, you know.
Because those are all the neighborhoods that Norwalk doesn't get along with. I mean, Artesia, Chief.
That's Steve K's voice, the deeper voice like Widow Shy. That's Steve Case.
They're all we're related.
All that. And that's all your family.
Yeah. I'd been trapped one time by Artesia where they were going to, you know, I don't know, kill me, beat me up, do whatever. But my cousin noticed me. He's like, is that you, Ralph? I'm like, yeah. Who's that? You know what I mean? He's like, Cobra. I'm like, what's up? He's like, you got 5 minutes, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, all right, boom. So I took off. Yeah. So, and we did it to my cousins, you know, where we had been there and we caught them or something walking, you know, we'd be like, hey, you're out of bounds, you know, get a ride or call somebody or come over here to the Tia's house and call your mom because you're going to get shot walking through here. You know, everybody knew that, you know what I mean? But like my point is, I never got into it, a bunch of that gang banging, strapping guns, you know, going this and that place. I can't really remember that. The only big fight I remember getting into was on Whittier Boulevard, you know, and it was because some dudes were coming out. I remember they were in a Cadillac, some older white men. They were coming from somewhere, and they had yelled out, you fucking cholos, or something like that. And so what happened, they didn't realize that we were in a truck, and in the truck, you know, you got them things we had put, there was pipes down there, you know, just little palos, but most of us were out the truck down the way, and then while some of my homeboys and me and my cousins, I was still in the back, because we had beer back there, some 12-packs, so I remember I went back there to open it, to get some beer, but we were standing away from the truck, in case the cops came, whatever, and my cousin and them were over here in the front. My primo Andy, is his truck, he was changing the tape or something in there, and I remember that car was turning, and that, I don't know if they were drunk or what, they started just yelling, you fucking cholo bean, or whatever. We're like, what, motherfuck you? So homeboys heard it too, they're like, what? And so happened when they pulled out, boom, they hit traffic. So we pulled out all the pipes of it and just let off on the car, you know, they rolled up the windows, broke them, beat them up. That was it, you know what I mean? Everybody jumped in the truck, and from there we took off.
That was back in the day when, well, actually, that's a little later in my time, but Whittier Boulevard, anybody who's cruised Whittier Boulevard knows how violent it can get. And you get stuck in traffic and start a beef, you're through. Plenty of people got dealt with on Whittier Boulevard. If you know, you know.
You know, that's about the biggest thing I could, that wasn't even gangbanging, you know. We didn't really get into gangbanging. We were like the biggest family there in the neighborhood, so, you know, we were represented in our own way, I guess. Everybody knew us from around the spots. And then I used to move around. Me, Andy, Frankie, my brother, we used to actually go around, you know, Artesia, Hawaiian Gardens. So even homeboys that were there knew us from going in there. And back then, in them days, it was like, as far as the older tecatos and that went, the regla, the rule of the day was, you know, if you're there to pick up dope, it's cool, in and out. As far as the dope fiends go, they're not gangbangers, they're just dope fiends. So, and I was a supplier. I ran with a supplier from growing up from a young age. So that kind of gave me, I guess, could say, a pass to go wherever I wanted. You know, as far as the area. Then all my tias knew me.
That was true. I remember I used to go score quarter ounces from Annie on Cheshire in the one-ways, like a notorious part of Perico's neighborhood. And that's like a death trap. They call it the one-ways because it's all one-way streets, and everybody knows who's who there, right? So I used to go there and score when I used to buy heroin from this lady. And I'd see dudes from Norwalk all the time, but they already knew I was scoring, so they wouldn't bother me. And that was kind of the unspoken rule. And the connections established that. not the hoods, the connections. They would go talk, oh, hey, don't bother people coming to my house. And that's the way it worked. So what he's saying is completely accurate.
And then I'd go to some of my tia's houses, and there'd be homeboys there that hang out, and they'd see me, and they knew I was from Norwalk. So I was kind of like a hands-off type of guy, you know, like don't fuck with them, you know, unless I started or whatever. I wouldn't look at them all bad or try and wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? So I kind of, you know, walked through it, you know. So, anyways, like I said, I ended up in YA. And things went all right. I wanted to stay on the main line because I went to YTS because all my homeboys were there. That's when I think they all got picked up for that. I think they shot a cop when they set up the cops. I don't remember exactly how that happened. But I didn't get a pass that week or the two. I think that's when I was in placement because this happened a while ago. They all got busted. My cousin, the one that made the phone call, he had got arrested for, you know, he did all his teenage life from 13 to 21. So, I remember a bunch of them got busted for it. A lot of them.
Was that with the AK-47?
I never really got into, you know. I remember what the story that I heard that they told me was they had a meeting because about that we were splitting up gangs back then. Well, actually, when I first started, we first had gangs just from the streets. We were the Cheshire Cheaters, Lowmont Lowriders. Every street had. That's when we were kids. Or like 10, 11. Then when we grew up, the first gang we made up was the Jokers. And it was mostly me and my cousins. Then from the Jokers, we went to the Primos, because we were all Primos. That's how the Primos got started. So it was mostly just us family. Then we started jumping in homeboys. And then the One Way Locos got made up. So while I was there, I didn't become a One Way Loco, though, because I was a Primo. But I was there spanking in the creation of it when it's like, because these were homeboys that like really didn't hang out with my family, kind of like just a few stragglers here and there, but homies that had good brothers from the barrio. There's probably about 8 of them: Spanky, Huerito, Shrimpy, Robert, Victor, you know, just homeboys that kind of live by each other and that. But I used to go down there a lot because they used to buy a lot of Sherm off me. And the homeboy had a nice garage in the back. So I used to go back there. You know. Anyways, when they were there and they made the One Way Locos, they're like, you want to be a One Way Loco? I'm like, nah, I'm a Primo. Still like that for years. And then finally, they were always pestering me, be a One Way Loco, be a One Way Loco. I'm like, fuck it, all right.
I find it fascinating to listen to this narration about, you know, how the creation of certain cliques in his hood came about, and the people he used to run with. And I'm quite certain that the people being named here are going to hear this somewhere and say, "Hey, Perico named me in the video. I remember him." And it's kind of unique to be able to see into somebody's life experience. Like, he's given his life experience, his childhood experience right here. And again, that's what a debrief entails, right? That's what a debrief entails. It's spewing out everything.
And then I got jumped in, and that was that, you know. I felt pretty proud of myself, though, because when I got jumped out of the One Way Locos, the whole clique jumped me out. And yeah, they didn't drop me one time. You know, I dropped 2 of them. I stood my ground for the whole 60 seconds. Even they were surprised. You know, that was it. And I took off. Yeah, so anyways, I was in camp. And seen my daughter, you know. It was like, I can't even tell you what it was. You know, had a baby. It was like, that wasn't my focus, you know. It was just, I don't know, fucking up, being a kid, running around, doing drugs. There was no drugs there, of course. Weed here and there, but I'm not a weed guy. I got in trouble there because some guy in the crew, we used to be able to get packages on visits, and his mom brought him a bunch of stuff, and he didn't want to share with nobody. And everybody in my crew, that was a thing. Like, nobody would lock their lockers. It's considered PC move, and my crew was tight. It was all, we only had two black dudes on it, and the rest was all raza, you know. And there was 16 of us. So there was 14 homies and only 2 black guys. And everybody else was in the mix, well, you know, from a barrio or something. So it was tight, you know, compared to all the other crews. And he came, we got him, his name was Mark. And nobody used to lock their lockers or nothing. So if I wanted something from you that I didn't have, I'd come and ask you, like, hey, I'm going to get a soup or something. Like, don't even, hey, go ahead. You know where it's at. So everybody knew where everything was. So he got his package. It's the first time he got the package. He locked his locker. I remember Lil Man from Soto came and told me, hey, Mark locked his locker. I'm like, fuck, go put the boot to it. I don't give a fuck, right? So he went, boom, we opened it. And then they came crying to me like, hey, they took my shit. I'm like, cool. He goes, I don't know, this and that. So happened, Little Man put it on my bunk and covered it. So I went back there and talked to him, hey, what's up? He goes, yeah, because he had a radio on it.
That's a cool little setup. Go do a robbery and then put it all in my house. That guy did not do him any favors right there.
Anyways, a long story short, I got into a fight. Well, not then and there. I told him, hey, you know what? We're not like that on this crew. Everybody shares. Everybody takes care of everybody. You don't want to do that, then screw you. You can leave. You know, I remember we had, you know, it was so long ago, whatever, but he ended up leaving the crew. He went in-house. I guess in the course of the couple months he was there, you know, he grew some balls or something and he called me out. I went into the warehouse and fucking laid him out, you know, fought him, fucked him up. And actually, I remember I told him, let's fight with sticks, because we had tools. So I told him, I used to put the picks on him. So I got a stick, I'm like, let's fucking fight with sticks, right? He's like, I knew he was trying to like scare him a little bit, because I'm like, let's really beat each other, you know? I was using it more as a, like, I know he's not going to do it, he'll piss on himself, you know, because he was like a schoolboy type dude trying to be a homie. When he got busted, he was from nowhere. Now all of a sudden he's on my crew, and he was, I think, from Pico Viejo or Nueva, somewhere. You know what I mean? Now he's a homie, so I'm like, this dude ain't shit. So I'm like, this fight was sticks. He was kind of scared about it, but I remember there was a dude there, Chapo from Cartagena, threw him a stick. So he went first, he swung again. And I remember his swing was so wide, you know, that I seen it like slow motion, almost like, I'm going to crack this dude's face wide open, right? Yeah, because he like, and I see my opportunity, you know. And then he came back and swung again, and I'm like, man. So I actually got my stick and I threw it. I go, hey, Holmes, you're going to get fucked up. I said, let's just go from the shoulders. And he's like, I don't remember what. But he ended up throwing his stick too, because the Chapo was in there. And I went in there with Andy from Watts. They're like, yeah, I got to be a fair fight, this and that. So we went from the shoulder, boom, 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 I fucked him up.
I think that was like his compassion right there. At a young age, he still had compassion. Because that wouldn't have been done in prison. You know, they would have took the opportunity, laid the guy out, and eliminated him, right? But here he could have struck the guy twice. He said the guy opened himself up. And I think that was kind of his compassion. I think he didn't have the killer instinct. Not yet, right? I think it's revelatory right here. He did not have the killer instinct yet. He said it himself. I didn't do none of that gang banging. I didn't carry guns, none of that stuff. I didn't go looking for stuff like that. He was more about money, dealing drugs, right? And at that point in his life, I think he had not become cold and hardened and devil may care, right? He didn't just like handle it like he did in the last video we showed, where he pretty much says that Cisco is the one that says handle it. He actually himself said that he uttered those words as well, but that Cisco authorized the elimination. And that's where he shows his I think his lack of sensitivity towards human life. But here he doesn't have it, and I think that's clear.
Laid him out real quick, and that was it. And that was it. Yeah, that was it. And, I think from there I went to... was it from there? No, from there I got kicked out. I think he told on me, or somebody told on me that we got into... Whatever, I went back to YTS. They wouldn't let me hit the main line there. I went back to the camp, did my little time, went to a placement on Vermont in Santa Monica, Silver Lake, what was the name of it? Went to the placement. I had to get a job and all that. I went and got a job, Del Taco. I just happened to get it. I walked into the store. Actually, they used to send you to go out to get jobs. So when I went out to get a job, I'd have to catch a bus from Santa Monica, Vermont, all the way to Norwalk. And they used to take these things assigned. So as soon as I got into Norwalk, whatever time it was, like 10, 11, I go into Del Taco on the corner of Alondra and Pioneer. Used to be a Del Taco. It's a Tommy's now. And I'm just sitting there eating breakfast. And I remember the manager asked me, hey, you looking for a job? Excuse me. And I'm like, well, matter of fact, I am, So she's like, well, you want a job? I'm like, yeah, what the hell? So she goes, all right, not at this spot, at my other one on Rosecrans in Firestone. She goes, could you work there? I'm like, yeah, sure. But I told her, because I kind of didn't really want a job. I did, but I didn't. But I'm like, I'm on parole, woo. And she's like, oh, that's fine, that's okay. I'm like, that, I have a record, and, but she wouldn't.
Perico was trying to self-sabotage. He didn't really want to work at a Del Taco. That's hilarious. It's hilarious. Look at that smirk on his face right now, like, yep, I was doing that.
No, I'm a really bad guy.
Yeah, she
That's so cool.
Because to that point, I was coming back with the card, and that's what I'd do. I'd go in there looking for a job. By the time when you got an application, they'd be like, yeah, because I remember I went to Payless Shoe Store, went to the market. Are you hiring? They're like, yeah, we're hiring. I'm like, I got a record. I'd be like, nah. So when I'd go back to the home, that's what I'd tell them. I'd be like, oh, they don't want to hire me. I got a record. They'd be like, well, you ain't got to tell them. I'm like, so you're saying to lie. I went to this whole rehabilitation stuff, and now you want me to go out there and lie and tell them I don't? What if they find out? What if I get promoted to manager? You know what I mean? Then they find out I got a record, and I can't get it because I lied, because you're encouraging me to lie. Shouldn't I tell them the truth? So, that's how I got around that. So anyways.
That's how you got around working?
Well, having them sign my card, because even I'd be like, could you sign my card? They're like, oh, you didn't fill out an application. So that was my comeback to and then my counselor there didn't really like me. His name was Rocha, and he didn't like that, I guess, because I told him it's rare that I meet another Rocha, that I run into Rochas. Most of my family Rochas, they lived up north. So, anyways, so I go to her thing. Her name's Laura.
I think that drumming on the table is like a little nervousness. He's calming himself, or it's like a tick, kind of like, right? It's an unconscious thing he's doing when he's pausing in between or telling a story. Once he gets to the story, he stops. But when he gets into a lapse, he starts tapping the table or drumming his fingers. I noticed that about him.
And I become prep there. The guy who preps cuts all the vegetables, everything in the morning, the meat, makes everything, sets everything up. So I'd have to be there like at, I think it was 5:30, 6 in the morning. And she gave me the keys to the place. So I come in, I'm the one who, I got to come in, gave me the code to the alarm and everything. So, all that. So I'm coming down, but I'm helping her more, because she's, well, could you stay later? Or she'd be like, well, could you come and help me in the evening? So I'd call my placement, I'd be like, hey, I go, well, you got to come back and check in. I'm like, well, the bus ride. So I end up finding out how to get around that, because the bus, the 460 bus, the Disneyland bus, it started running like at 4 in the morning, right? But in Norwalk, it was stopped running like 11:35, I think was the last bus. So when I'd close with the place, I'd close, and we'd close about 11:35, 11:40, so I couldn't make it back to the bus stop, because the bus wouldn't be running. So I tell the placement that, well, I'm just going to sleep at the bus stop, because I got to be back in the morning to open. So that was my little play there, to run around the barrio, go with my old lady and my daughter, chill out, do whatever. So, then we had a car, so I wasn't taking the bus no more. Actually, I'd take it to Ralph's Market, park at Ralph's, walk around to the placement, then walk back. Anyways, I end out, one day out, we're partying, me and Diane's brothers, and I'm getting ready to get out, getting close to getting out. So I start I'm going to leave this job. I'm going to go back to my thing, slinging. Sherm's doing good still. Dust is real good, real the thing now. Someone's, I see how to make dust, do all that. So I'm like, cool. So that's, I'm gearing up. Okay, I'm going to quit. I felt kind of bad though, because I'm like, man, Laura gave me that job and this and that. So I actually told Laura, I'm like, hey, you know what? When I get out as a ref, I look for another job. She even offered me more money. She gave me more money. She goes, well, stay here. You're helping me a lot. Because I was doing a lot. I was prepping for her. I was doing the cash register. I was pretty much running that restaurant myself, I was doing making sure everybody was there. I had the little crews again, working it. I just came that, I'd rather be telling people what to do than being told what to do, And that's how that went. She trusted me a lot. I liked that. I was trying to work. So anyways, while that was going on, and we went back one day. My Danny and his wife were giving me a ride back. We smoked a sherm, drink. But anyways, by the time I get back, I don't even remember. I was so fucked up. I woke up in SRCC, and I'm like, what the fuck? I remember banging on the door. I'm like, what happened? They're like, you got kicked out. You went back to the place. So they told me what happened. Blah 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 blah. I was fucked up. I was all shermed up, and so they kicked me out. This, that, and the other. So all right. So about that time, I was getting ready to discharge. No. First, that was that. They took me back. They took me back. I got kicked out, but they took me back. And my counselor really hated that because I wasn't board ordered the first time. I just went. Now this time I was board ordered, so he bent over backwards to try and not make me go there. And I remember we even had a talk. I'm like, man, why do you hate me so much? What's going on? And he didn't give me no answer. I'm like, I didn't do nothing to you. I never did nothing to you. You're just, I don't know, remember what he said. Because I'm like, you're not getting dirty tests. What the? I remember I had him that talk. I'm like, I'm not a bad person. What's your deal? Is it just you don't like me or what? Because I got your last name? And I don't remember exactly the outcome of that. But it wasn't. Because I had asked him, you know what, I'm going to ask the director for another counselor because you're not doing nothing to help me. All you seem to do is make my life miserable. When I come back, he even put me in the room right in front of him. So always, I remember I got kicked out. I came back, but when I got kicked out, my Laura went to bat for me. I didn't even know it. She wrote a letter, and she was saying that how good of a worker I was. That she wants me back. That I never missed days. I helped her. Blah 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 blah. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I think that kind of helped me. I ended up going back. I finished the program, and I got out. I got out, went and lived with Diane and the baby. Stayed at her mom's house. It was just there. It was pretty cool. I caught a violation, I remember, went back, it wasn't, nothing, I know I'm kind of running over it. There was nothing really spectacular happened. Nothing really, nothing criminal. Nothing. I don't remember what I got. I think it was a violation for a dirty test or something. Went back, went to Ventura, maxed out. I remember I got out. I remember the day I got out, I was off parole. I got out, went to my mom's house. I'm like, fuck this, I'm off parole. So I seen Diane that night, the baby, and all that, kicked back. The next day, my homeboy Spider calls me up. He's like, hey, what are you doing? You got out? I'm like, yeah. He's like, let's go party. I'm like, cool, He's like, I got some bogus checks. Let's go try and cash them and go party. I'm like, all right. I told him, but because Diane was supposed to come pick me up, I told him, meet me on the corner of Excelsior North Boulevard. So that way Diane don't see me, we cut out. He's like, all right, so I walked. And I remember I hadn't went to get clothes yet, so I'm still in my clothes that I paroled from in Ventura. the brown sweatshirt, Levi's shoes. And I walk right there and I'm waiting. And some girls come around honking a horn. I'm like, hey, what's up? So anyways, they turn around. They're like, hey, what's up? I'm like, what's up? Right? They're like, we idle chit-chat. Where are you from? This and that. And I'm like, yeah, I just got out. Woo, woo, woo. And what are you doing? I'm like, I'm bouncing. And I'm like, you guys are going to go party and shit? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, let us, we need to make some money first, right? So what happened? My homeboy Spider pulls up in his girlfriend's car. He's like, what's up? I'm like, hey, I got some hyenas right here. They want to go party? I get, get out and check them out, see what's up, right? And I remember Spider was a real ladies' boy, you know what I mean? He had, like, green eyes, real güero. When I used to, growing up with him, girls used to like him, we'd always catch girls. We'd always catch the prettiest one. He was like that.
Hey, Ralph, can you stop for just one quick second? I just want to stop this.
So that concludes this video. I'm gonna have to locate the next part of this because it's pretty interesting, right? Talking about picking up on girls. He got out and he got high. He got kicked back to YTS. All the little trials and tribulations he's going through as a kid, and we're learning Perico right now. This is Perico, right? This is going to lead into a much bigger thing. We're going to get into Operation La Jale, Operation 30 Thirds. This goes everywhere, folks. This goes everywhere. And this is the inception of it. This is where it all started. It started with Perico. There was no case until Perico flipped. He is the Chuco Castro of his era. Chuco Castro from VNE. That's the dude who flipped in 1992, I believe, and became an embedded FBI informant. Perico is going to become an ATF informant. So just think about it this way. When you're looking at this video, this is where it all starts, right? They're getting him easy with talking. They're lapping with him. He's at ease now. He's talking about life stuff and all his experiences, and this is when they're going to start advancing it, right? I'll find the next part of this video, and we'll play it soon, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Is this a different Perico than you knew from the streets or heard about? It seems like a completely different person. He seems like pretty easygoing, pretty jovial. He doesn't seem like the cold-blooded killer. Not like he did in that elimination video you just saw in the white T-shirt. He's like a completely different person. But this guy right here, he seems like somebody you could like. I mean, to me, he does. Maybe I'm just feeling that empathy about his childhood his adverse childhood experiences. I mean, that's in my head, right? Like his whole life was set against him, right? He just had every card stacked against him, right? But I'm listening to this. He doesn't seem like a cold-blooded killer. Not at this point. Not when he's describing these experiences. Anyways, folks, that's the second part of Ralph Rocha's debrief. We'll bring the next part soon. With that said, as always, hype the video. Leave a comment. Stay safe. Peace out.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Boots.